Again, welcome everybody, and happy Pesach, happy Passover to you. I see a whole bunch of familiar faces, some new faces as well. We welcome you here to Living Manna. I'm Pastor Dave. I'm the senior shepherd here. On the drums there and running around here is Pastor Matt. He's sort of the glue that keeps all of this thing going. And I also want to say, even though we're not broadcasting live tonight, there's a lot of LMC family that's outside of these walls that watch from other places. And so the messages are going to be recorded for them so that they can listen in. They can be part of the worship tonight. We really wish that you guys were able to be here with us, but hopefully and prayerfully at another Passover, we'll be able to do that. But to everybody that is watching us online, say with me, everybody, Happy Passover. Thank you guys for being part of the LMC family. We've got a lot to do tonight, a lot I want to share with you. Again, I say welcome to everybody. Thank you so much for being here. You may hear, I know, if this is the first time you're hanging out with us, I know we look a little weird. I know you look at us and you say, I can't actually place you guys. What are you guys? We are believers in Messiah. We believe in the death and the resurrection of the Messiah on the third day. We believe that he is the one that is the voice of Mount Sinai who called out the commandments to Moses. We believe that he is the one who called out fire, gave fire when Elijah prayed and called out fire on Mount Carmel. We believe that he is the one that called all of creation into existence, for by him all things exist, and without him nothing exists that does exist. That is who we believe in. And we believe in the Father. We believe in his Father, in our Father. And one day, after the millennial kingdom, we will all get a chance to meet Father. But before that happens, there's a lot of things that have to go on. And I know you'd say, well, why are you guys doing Passover? You're going to find out tonight as we listen. And I've had that question asked of me. I can't tell you how many times in all the years I've been doing this. Why do you guys celebrate Passover? In fact, I remember asking that same question. Why would I want to celebrate Passover? Hopefully by the end of tonight, you will have a solid answer to that as to why we celebrate Passover. You know what the simple answer is? Messiah is the Passover. Amen. It doesn't get any more simple than that. He is the Passover. But there's a lot more to it. So tonight, what I want to do is I'm going to be able to speak. I'm going to speak twice tonight. I'm going to have two separate messages, a smaller one now before we eat dinner, and then one after. The title for tonight is, hopefully you guys can see it. There it is. The Passover, past, present, and future. Now, I don't mean to be, I'm not trying to be offensive at all. But some of us remember back in the day when we used to celebrate things like Christmas or Easter. And I know this is really a terrible, terrible example, but it really does help put this whole thing in context for us. And context is everything, right? It's like going to buy real estate, location, location, location. In the scripture, context, context, context. Context is everything. And you remember, I know you remember, you've got to remember, we were putting up those lights. You see the lights that are there that are separating where the food is? To me, those are Christmas lights. Because you know what happens? You guys will remember, you put up a Christmas tree and you put lights up and one light doesn't work and then the whole thing doesn't work. Well, that's what happened. And so I was like, oh, those are Christmas lights. So no, those are fairy lights. Oh, that's a whole lot better. That's a whole lot better. They're fairy lights. They're wonderful no matter what. So this is a bad example, but it's an example that I hope brings context to your thinking about what I'm about to share with you. Do you guys remember A Christmas Carol? Bah! Humbug! Right? Little tiny Tim. Could I get a little bit of more porridge, please? Remember that? The whole story of Christmas past, Christmas present, and Christmas future. And of course, you know the story, the ghosts come to him and you know, they show him all sorts of things. And I know it's a terrible example. It really is. But I want you to think in that sense as we talk about Passover today. Because we're going to talk about Passover past, and we're going to talk about Passover present, and we're going to talk about Passover future. Because it really is important to all of us. Now, just from a very traditional perspective, on your plates there, no, we're not doing an entire Seder the way some of our Jewish brethren would do a Seder. Like I said, it's like a 4-hour thing that goes through. But the focus of a Seder, tonight, you know, our Jewish brethren all over the world are celebrating Pesach or Passover, and they're going over the story of the Exodus. They're telling the story of the Exodus again, and they're reviewing it. And year after year after year after year, the story of the Exodus is reviewed. The story of the Passover is reviewed. Because the commandment, the instruction given by Yah, when I say Yah, that means God. That's the actual name. And everybody knows the name. We don't really realize we say it, but every time you say hallelujah, you're calling on Yah. That's just the shortened poetic version, but that's his name. It's Yahuwah, but that's his name. Or Yehovah, modern Hebrew, ancient Hebrew. The fact is that we're calling on him. We're calling on his name. So a lot of our Jewish brethren are celebrating the Pesach, but they're celebrating the Passover of the past. And we should celebrate the Passover of the past because that's the instruction that Father gave to us through the Messiah, through Moses. He wants us to celebrate it year after year after year after year. The question is that I think we should all be asking is, why? Why would he have us celebrate this year after year after year? Now, I know there's a lot of, many people who may believe in Messiah that don't celebrate the Passover. But that's the instruction, that we should do that because there's something to learn in the celebration of the Passover that helps us understand the whole story of Messiah so much better. And so normally, I just put this up to show you some of the traditional stuff. In the Passover is the memorial of the Exodus. From Passover, the plagues, to the Passover, to the getting out of Egypt, to the Red Sea, to the getting across the Red Sea, and the excitement of the dancing and the singing of the Song of Moses. This is from Exodus chapter 3 all the way to Exodus chapter 16. This is the basic story. And on the screen there, and even now we have some of the elements of a Seder in front of us, the order of things, how an order would be done to tell this story. And in front of all of you guys there, it's not necessarily a Seder plate, but it's our version of a Seder plate. Now, if you look at the screen up there, there is the lamb bone that's normally on a Seder plate. And if you have an opportunity later, come up to the front, maybe take a picture in front of what we've got up here. We've got the crown of thorns because this is all about Messiah. We've got the shofar blast, blow the trumpet in Zion. But of course, we've got the matzah, the bread, the unleavened bread. And we've got our own little Seder plate. We've got the lamb bone, the shank. Every time you read that he got us out of Egypt with an outstretched arm, the lamb bone, the leg bone, is the outstretched arm. He got them out with an outstretched arm. And normally on a Seder plate, as you can see in the pictures up there, a couple of different things. There is the lamb bone there. There is normally some sort of bitter herbs. And it comes in a couple of different forms on your plates or up in front of you. There's some horseradish. That's bitter. There is some parsley. Now, I love parsley, but parsley by itself, I don't know. That's not exactly a delicacy. But it's a bitter herb. And of course, there's some romaine lettuce there as well. There's also a little mixture called haraset. It's a mixture, be careful guys, it's a mixture of apples and walnuts and cinnamon and some wine in it. So if you're allergic to any of those things, don't touch the haraset, please. But that was to remember all of the things of Egypt. The bitter herbs were to remember how bad it was in Egypt, how bitter it was to be in the service of Pharaoh, how bitter it was to be made to work day after day after day, 7 days a week with no rest. How bitter that was. That's what the horseradish is. That's what the romaine lettuce is. That's what the parsley is. It's not supposed to taste good. Now, I know normally you sit down to a dinner and you have appetizers, and appetizers is supposed to be a thing that sort of gets your palate going for the rest of the dinner. You eat these appetizers and you're like, I don't know if I really want the rest of the dinner if it tastes like this, because it's supposed to be bitter. It's supposed to remind all of us of our spiritual ancestors in Egypt that were under the control of Pharaoh. They were in slavery. Now, also on there, actually it's on the picture, it's not on your plates there. There's normally an egg today, as the tradition is. There's an egg because there's no more sacrifice. And the egg represents the morning sacrifice and the evening sacrifice, the tamid offering. Every morning a lamb was offered, and every morning a drink offering and a grain offering was offered. That opened up the temple so people could come and fellowship with Elohim, could come and bring their offerings and sup with him. And then at night, another tamid offering was given, and that closed the service for the day. And no one could come to the temple again till the next day. And that's what the egg is representative of. It's representative of the sacrifice that is no more, because there is no longer a temple, which is exactly what Messiah told us was going to happen. And of course, there's the wine, and then there is the matzah, which again, on the night of the Passover, they ate unleavened bread, and they took bread with them as they went on their journey, and they ate unleavened bread. And the celebration from tomorrow on is the 7 days of eating unleavened bread. So in your house, if you haven't gotten rid of the leaven, you got to do it real quick. Got to get rid of that leaven. And for the next 7 days, we eat unleavened bread. All day long, I've been eating carbs. I had crackers, I had wheat bread, I had fishes, I had saltines. I've been eating carbs all day long just to try to get rid of it in the house, because the next week is going to be the week of unleavened bread to us. So the tradition is that as a Seder goes on, as a Hebrew Seder goes on, as a Jewish Seder goes on, there is the commemoration, the remembrance that Father called not just Moses, Father called Moses and Aaron. He called 2 people to go to Pharaoh and to declare to Pharaoh to let my people go. And he called 2 people to call down judgments after judgment after judgment on Egypt, because Pharaoh's heart was hard. And the judgments, of course, are water, blood, frogs, lice, flies, livestock dies, boils, hail, locusts, darkness, the death of the firstborn as the last one. And then finally, after the death of the firstborn, the Passover blood over the doorpost. Israel, the firstborn, leaves Egypt. But the story doesn't end there. In the 4 hours of a Seder, you read the entire story, all of those plagues, and then you read about the Exodus, how they left Egypt, how they went and were followed and pursued by Pharaoh. And finally, at the Red Sea, Abba opens up the Red Sea, and they walk across, and Pharaoh's army drowns in the Red Sea. And of course, the celebration on the other side of the Red Sea, which is the singing that the horse and the rider have drowned in the sea. This is Exodus chapter 15 and 16. Pharaoh's armies are destroyed, and the Song of Moses. That's what goes on in a whole Seder. I just gave you 4 hours of preaching in like what? 5 minutes? That's good. For a preacher, that's good. 4 hours. And it's a wonderful story. It is something we need to remember. So here it is in a pictorial form for all of us to understand. And before we even do that, let's do this, because I know you guys have been sitting here a little bit. In front of you guys is the bowl of haraset. That is a remembrance of the mortar, the bricks that they had to put together without the straw, and to put the bricks together, the mortar to put them together. It's apples, it's cinnamon, like I said, it's wine, and it's walnut. So if you have a nut allergy, don't take any. There should be some matzah inside of a white bag in front of you guys. You can take some matzah out of there, put a little bit of haraset on the matzah, eat it. It's very, very sweet. I would also ask everybody, I know it's not the best appetizer in the world, but I want you to take a piece of the parsley. And I want you to take a little bit of the haraset. Actually, if you put it all on the matzah at the same time, it goes down a lot easier. Little bit of parsley, a little bit of haraset, a little bit of horseradish, a little piece of romaine lettuce. I'll give you guys a couple of minutes to do that. And if that's bitter to you, it's supposed to be. Oh, yeah, sure. If you guys want to use those, whichever they want. We've got some fresh matzah coming out. If you guys want to use some fresh soft matzah, you can use the hard matzah that's there, whichever you'd like. All right, so make sure everybody gets a little bit of a taste of it. Put it on the matzah. You got to have a little horseradish and you got to have a little parsley. Don't skimp on it. If you want your sinuses cleared, eat some of that horseradish. Now, don't go crazy. This is just an appetizer, right? We got lots of food, so we want you guys to eat. Yes, ma'am. That's another part of the Seder we're just not doing. Now, guys, there's a lot of other elements to a traditional Seder that we're just not incorporating tonight. Because this is not just a story about the past. As important as the past is, this is also a story about today. Because while you eat that parsley, and while you eat the horseradish, as bitter as it is to the taste, to the tongue, it's not just a reminder of the slavery of Egypt, it's a reminder of the slavery of sin from which we have all come. It's a reminder of how bitter your life was before. And I don't know about you, but I was pretty bitter. Done some things, been some places, said some things that, you think about it now and it's a bitter memory. And so Passover is an opportunity to think back on that. And also to remember, just like the ancient Israelites by the blood of the Lamb were taken out of slavery, so are you and I. For he who the Son sets free is free indeed. Messiah is the Passover lamb. Okay, I know you're eating. We're just going to go on here. So let's talk about Passover past. Let's go through the story real quick, because this is what you would do in a much elongated way, but this is what you would do in a normal Seder. The Passover past is a story beginning with Yah our God, calling Moses and telling Moses it's time for him to return to Egypt and to tell Pharaoh to let his people go. This is the whole burning bush scene. And of course, Moses complies, but he has a problem. He doesn't speak very well. And he wants someone to go with him. And the one that Yah chooses is his brother, Aaron. Here is why the Passover occurred. This is the book of Exodus, chapter 7, verses 1 through 5. Listen to this very carefully, because there's a principle I want you to understand. Biblical history is prophecy. If it already happened, it means it's going to happen again. And the reason why we celebrate and we memorialize it year after year after year is to learn it, is to understand it, so that when it does begin to happen again, we are not taken off guard. We understand what's coming. So why the Exodus? Exodus chapter 7, verses 1 through 5. So Yah said to Moses, "See, I have made you an Elohim to Pharaoh, and Aaron your brother is your prophet." How many? Two of them. "You shall speak all that I command you, and Aaron your brother shall speak to Pharaoh, and let the children of Israel go out of this land. But I am going to harden the heart of Pharaoh, and shall increase my signs and wonders in the land of Mitzrayim," that's Egypt. "And Pharaoh is not going to listen to you, and shall lay my hand on Mitzrayim," Egypt, "and bring my divisions and my people, the children of Israel, out of the land of Egypt by great judgments. And the Egyptians shall know that I am Yah, when I stretch out my hand on Egypt, and I shall bring the children of Israel out from among them." What is the whole purpose of the Exodus? Is to let the one who is keeping them in slavery know that their God is God. And by a mighty hand and terrible judgments, he will take his people out of the clutches of that Pharaoh and bring them to become his servants, his people. Keep that in the back of your mind. So, Pharaoh, if you guys, I don't know, I'm probably dating myself here, but some of you remember Cecil B. DeMille's, Charlton Heston comes to, what was his name? Yul Brynner, thank you. Comes to Yul Brynner and he tells him, "Let my people go." And he doesn't want to let his people go. And judgments begin. Moses and Aaron begin to call down judgments on Egypt. And the first one, of course, is that the river Nile, is turned to blood. On the picture there, you can see it. Moses and Aaron are standing before Pharaoh, the center picture. The both of them are there. They're picking up the staff, and the river Nile is being turned to blood. The second judgment is that out of the river Nile will come frogs. Not just a couple of frogs, but lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of frogs all over the land of Egypt. Say, well, that's not a really, really bad judgment. Imagine if that was your house and frogs were everywhere. But it does not stop there. The next judgment that is called down from Aaron and Moses is the judgment of lice. This is Exodus chapter 8, verses 16 through 19. Stinging flies or gnats. This is Exodus 8, 20 through 30. I know these are horrible pictures to look at while you guys are eating. I'm sorry. And then the next judgment is the death of livestock. This is Exodus chapter 9, verses 1 through 7. You can see the pictures behind me to just give you a little visual reference. these things are happening, not all at once. These things are happening over time, but they're happening in consecutive order. And of course, each time he goes back to Pharaoh and says, let my people go, Pharaoh refuses. So, finally, the next judgment are boils, sores, all over everybody in Egypt, save the Israelites. A sickness that affects everyone. Doesn't kill everyone, but it affects everyone. And still Pharaoh would not let them go. So Moses goes back, and Yah sends him and Aaron to call down hail. Not just hail, not just, it's not like being out in Nebraska somewhere and it's hailing. Hail that will kill you if you are caught by it. Hail that will knock down all of the crops, kill all of the animals that it touches. Hail that is coming down from the heavens at, 32 feet per second. Imagine a baseball coming down at 32 feet per second and hitting you. That's the hail. And of course, he goes back to Pharaoh, and Pharaoh will not let them go. So in Exodus chapter 10, verses 1 through 20, he calls out locusts. And the locusts come and begin to eat whatever crops still remained from the other judgments. And yet, Pharaoh would not let them go. So, Exodus chapter 10, verses 21 through 23 tells us that Moses and Aaron were instructed to call out darkness upon Egypt. A darkness that was so dreary, so dark, but not in the land of Goshen where the Israelites were. And still, Pharaoh would not let Israel go. This is the Passover of the past. What is the purpose of the Passover of the past? To let the nation of Egypt know that Yah Elohim is Elohim. Elohim means God. He is God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and you need to let my people go. That's the purpose. Until finally, the last plague, the Passover itself. Take a lamb on the 10th day of the first month, keep it in your home for 4 days. On the 4th day, slaughter it. Take its blood and put it over the doorpost of your home, an archway covering or an entryway covenant. We talked about just a threshold covenant we talked about last week. And on that night, when all of Egypt was sleeping, those with the blood on their doorpost, when the angel of death comes, when he sees the blood, he passes over that house, and whatever house does not have the blood, the firstborn child of that house, be it an older man, be it a woman, be it a child, be it a baby, dies that night. And there was great mourning and weeping in Egypt. So much so that they decided to let Yah's people go. What are all of these plagues for? To let Pharaoh, the nation that holds them in captivity, know that their Yah, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, is God. You need to let my people go. And of course they do. They let them go on the 15th, on the day of unleavened bread, the celebration of it. And yet Pharaoh's heart hardens again, and he decides to chase them down. Right to the sea, right to the crossing between Egypt and Canaan. And of course, we know the story. Abba opens up, Messiah opens up the Red Sea, and he lets the Israelites pass on dry ground. But Pharaoh's army that pursues him are killed as the waters come down upon them. Pharaoh's army is drowned in the sea. Yah fights for his people to let them go, to bring them back to the land that he gave to Abraham. Because that's really the whole purpose of this, to go back to the land. And they are so elated after this victory, after the death of Pharaoh's army, that the last picture there is called the Song of Moses. This is Exodus chapter 15. Miriam and all the people that have timbrels and tambourines and flutes and whatever instruments they have, they begin playing and they begin singing the song. The horse and the rider has been thrown into the sea. And they rejoiced, they were happy, they were exuberant because the redemption, the exodus, the exiting of slavery had occurred through horrific judgments, but it had occurred. This is the Passover of the past. And it needs to be remembered by all of us, which is why we celebrate Passover. Why? Because the Passover of the present is this. That's the Passover. The blood on the doorpost. The Lamb of God, who takes away, yes, the sin of the world, but sets us free from slavery. Because the one whom you serve, you are a servant or slave of. And we all served sin, which is the breaking of Yah's commandments. All of us have. That's the bitterness in our lives. Messiah celebrates with his disciples on the night of Passover, telling them to eat the bread and drink the cup. And do it in remembrance of me. But he tells them, I'm not going to eat of this Passover meal with you again until I eat it with you anew in the kingdom. Which means not only is there a Passover past, not only is the Passover now the remembrance of the Messiah, and of course the resurrection, even though that's days away, it's still in our minds. We can't ignore it. The resurrection is part of this story. But there, by his own words, is another Passover celebration coming in the future. And in order to understand what's coming, we need to know what happened. Why do we celebrate Passover? Because if we don't know the story of what happened, we will not know the story of what's coming. Father tells us the ending from the beginning. He tells us what is to come by what has already come. And with the Passover, both of the Exodus from Egypt and the Passover of Messiah, there is a warning to those who would celebrate it. In in Exodus chapter 12, and verse 47, it says, and all the congregation of Israel are to proclaim it, the Passover. They had just gotten out. And when a stranger, a foreigner, a Gentile who becomes part of the house of Israel, someone who's not a native-born Hebrew, but believes in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, put the blood over his doorpost. And when a stranger or a foreigner, a Gentile, sojourns with you, and shall perform the Pesach, the Passover, to Yah. Let all his males be circumcised, and then let them come near and perform it. And he shall be as a native of the land, but let no uncircumcised eat of it. There is one Torah for the native born, and one Torah instruction for the stranger, the Gentile, who sojourns among you. So the original instruction was, if you were going to be part of the people who just came out of Egypt, you had to show you were part of the covenant of Abraham by physical circumcision. You were not allowed to come to the table without it. You could actually do yourself great harm in coming to the table without it. 1 Corinthians chapter 11 and verse 23. The same instruction is given with regards to Messiah, except this is not just about physical circumcision. There is the letter of the law, and then there is the spirit of the law. 1 Corinthians chapter 11 verse 23 says, and having given thanks, speaking about the Passover, he broke it and said, take, eat, this is my body. This is Rabbi Shaul, or the Apostle Paul. This is my body which is broken for you. Do this in remembrance of me. In the same way also the cup after supper, saying, this cup is the renewed covenant in my blood. As often as you drink it, do this in remembrance of me. We're all familiar with this. Verse 27, however, says, so that whoever should eat this bread or drink this cup of the master unworthily shall be guilty of the body and the blood of the master. But let a man examine himself, and so let him eat of the bread and drink of that cup. For the one who is eating and drinking unworthily eats and drinks judgment to himself, not discerning the body of the master. And because of this, many are weak and sick among you, and many sleep or die. So in the first Passover, if you weren't circumcised, you were not allowed to eat. In the present Passover, if your heart is not right, if your heart is not circumcised, don't eat. Don't eat. Don't come. Don't take the cup. Don't eat the haraset. Don't eat the matzah. Don't eat the parsley. Don't do any of it. Because for this reason, many who don't realize what they're doing have eaten and drunk judgment to themselves, have brought sickness upon themselves, and death eventually. So the warning hasn't changed. That's how important Passover is. This is for family. This is for people who understand who Messiah is, that he is the Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world. And I know we said it already, but whoever the Son sets free is free indeed. That is Passover past and Passover present. And after dinner, we'll talk about Passover future. To watch our Wednesday Bible study, or even some of the things we've been doing leading up to today. We've been, and we've known about it here for a long time, and I know a lot of people that understand who Messiah is haven't quite come to this realization yet, that we are counted as the house of Israel. We are numbered with them. We are part of them. Not with the Jewish people. That's Judah. That's the southern kingdom. We are part of the same nation, the same kingdom, but we are counted as the people of Ephraim. Ephraim is the northern house that was scattered way before Judah was. And they were scattered for the same reasons Judah would wind up going into dispersion, for breaking the Torah, breaking the laws, idolatry, and all sorts of other things. But the difference between the Jewish people, Judah of the southern kingdom, and the northern people, the house of Israel, it's called the house of Israel, the house of Ephraim, it's called the house of Joseph, it's got a couple of different names, it's called Israel. The difference is, when they were scattered, they became lost among the nations, meaning they mixed into the Gentile nations around them, and eventually they lost their identity, and they became the Gentiles. And so today, it's almost impossible to, I guess, maybe if you go to 23andMe, you might be able to check out your genealogy, but it's almost impossible to find out if somewhere in our heritage we have the house of Ephraim, of one of the 10 tribes in our blood. But honestly, it doesn't matter. Our blood doesn't matter. His does. And that grafts us back into the story. This is not a story about a Gentile church and a people called Israel. It is about a kingdom called Israel. And at some point, the promise, the overall promise, if we are children of Abraham, is that we're going to go back to the land. This is a promise I think we've overlooked, we've forgotten. The reason we've forgotten it is we stopped doing Passover. We stopped understanding what the story is about. We stopped reviewing it year after year after year as we were commanded to. And the reason he commanded us to do it is because if we know where we've come from, we know where we're going. He again, as I said it before, tells us the ending from the beginning. So, Bible prophecy or Bible history, things that happen, are Bible prophecy. The lamb over the blood post was Bible history. It was Bible prophecy that that lamb would actually be Elohim himself, the Lamb of Elohim that takes away the sin of the world. That Bible history was Bible prophecy. But the things in Yah are not linear. The things in Yah are cyclical. They keep happening over and over until the final fulfillment. So if Bible history is Bible prophecy, what is the reason for Exodus? What is the reason for celebrating tonight, for memorializing, for remembering? So Yah said to Moses, "See, I have made you an Elohim to Pharaoh, and Aaron your brother is your prophet. You shall speak all that I command you, and Aaron your brother shall speak to Pharaoh." How many go to speak to Pharaoh? 2. You shall speak all that I command you, and Aaron your brother shall speak to Pharaoh, and let the children of Israel go out of this land. But I am going to harden the heart of Pharaoh, and shall increase my signs and wonders in the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh is not going to listen to you, and shall lay my hand on Egypt, and bring my divisions and my people, the children of Israel, out of the land of Mitzrayim by great judgments. And the Egyptians shall know that I am Yah when I stretch out my hand on Egypt, and I shall bring the children of Israel out from among them. What is Exodus about? Bringing the children of Israel out and proving to Pharaoh and everybody else who is God by mighty, mighty judgments. Beloved, this is going to happen again. Again. Jeremiah chapter 31 and verse 1, it says, "And at this time," when you hear that verse, it's the same as saying the day of the Lord. At that time, in that day, in the day of Yah, declares Yah, "I shall be the Elohim of all the clans of Israel, Judah, the people who are in Israel today, and Ephraim, all the people scattered all over the world that believe in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. I shall be the Elohim of all the clans of Israel, and they shall be my people. For there shall be a day when the watchmen cry on Mount Ephraim." This is a prophecy to Ephraim. "Arise and let us go up to Zion," to Jerusalem, to Israel, to Yah our Elohim. "For thus says Yah, sing with gladness for Jacob and shout among the chief of the nations. Cry out and give praise and say, O Yah, save your people." You know what that word is? Hosanna. The people of Yah are going to cry out, Hosanna. The remnant of Israel. "See, I am bringing them from the land of the north, and shall gather them from the ends of the earth, from Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, New Jersey, Connecticut, Australia, New England, South America, Central America, North America, wherever his people are. I am bringing them from the land of the north, and I shall gather them from the ends of the earth. Among them, the blind and the lame, those with child and those in labor together. This is not resurrection he's talking about. In resurrection, there's no blind. There's no lame. There's no people that are pregnant. There's no old. There's resurrected. He's not talking about those who are resurrected. He's talking about those who are alive and remain. They're going back. See, I am bringing them from the land of the north and shall gather them from the ends of the earth. Among them the blind, the lame, those with child and who labor together. A great assembly returning here. With weeping they shall come, and with their prayers I bring them. I shall make them walk by the rivers of water in a straight way in which they do not stumble. For I shall be a father to Israel and Ephraim. He is my firstborn. Hear the word of Yah, O nations, and declare at the isles afar off, and say, he who scattered Israel will gather him, and shall guard him as a shepherd his flock. So what's coming one day? Yes, resurrection if you happen to be dead. But if you're alive, what's going to happen? Another exodus. Not from one nation in Egypt, from all nations. A greater exodus, a bigger exodus. Exodus chapter 12, verse 10. With regards to the Passover, do not leave it until morning, and what remains of it until morning you are to burn with fire. And this is how you are to eat it. Your loins girded, your sandals on your feet, your staff in your hand, and you shall eat it in haste. It is the Pesach. Why did they eat with their sandals on and their jackets and their belts tied? Why did they eat like that in haste? They knew they were leaving. When? After Passover. They were leaving. If Bible history is prophecy, what's coming on another Passover one day in the future? We are to eat it in haste, with our belts girded, our sandals on, our jackets ready to go. Now, there's a lot more to it. I don't have to explain what we should be looking for. Another message, another day. You're just going to have to turn into Hidden Manna or turn into Wednesday Bible Story. Come hang out with us on Saturday. You'll get the rest of the message. Luke chapter 17, verse 29. But on the day when Lot went out of Sodom, it rained fire and sulfur from heaven and destroyed all. And it shall be the same in the day when the Son of Adam is revealed. In that day, he who is on the housetop and his goods in the house, let him not come down to take them away. And likewise, the one who is in the field, let him not turn back. Remember Lot's wife. That's not resurrection. Because if you're in the field in resurrection, how could you go back to your house? If you're on the roof at resurrection, how could you go down? And why would we have to remember Lot's wife? What's the story of Lot? When did Lot leave Sodom, Gomorrah, all of those, Sodom in particular, but all of those cities? In the springtime at Passover. He left with his wife because Father or Yah sent how many people to tell him? Two. That it's time to get out. A lot of his family didn't go. Those that did, we were warned about his wife. She turned back. She didn't want to leave. Her heart was at Sodom. This cannot be resurrection. There's no way you can be resurrected and turn around and put your heart back there. You're either resurrected or you're not. He's not talking about resurrection. We cannot read these verses separate from all the prophecies that come before it. Genesis chapter 19, verses 1 through 3. And the two messengers, how many? Came to Sodom in the evening, And Lot was sitting at the gate of Sodom, and when Lot saw them, he rose to meet them, and he bowed himself with his face toward the ground. And he said, "Look, please, my masters, please turn into your servant's house and spend the night and wash your feet and rise early and go on your way." And they said, "No, let us spend the night in the open square." But he urged them strongly, and they turned into him and came into the house, and he made a feast for them of unleavened bread. And they ate. Are we supposed to notice that? Yes. We're supposed to notice that and say, "Oh my goodness, when did this happen?" During Passover. Here's the original Exodus story, not in the past, not even in the present. This is the Exodus story of the future. Two witnesses, Moses and Aaron, the two angels, the two messengers sent to Lot. Revelation chapter 11, verse 3. "And I shall give my two witnesses, and they shall prophesy 1,260 days clad in sackcloth. These possess authority to shut the heaven that no rain falls in the days of their prophecy. And they possess authority over waters to turn them to blood and to smite the earth with all plagues as often as they wish." Does that sound familiar? This is the Exodus story. Moses and Aaron, the two witnesses to get Israel out. What's Yah going to do in the future? He's going to send two witnesses. He's going to send two witnesses. Revelation 16, verse 12, "And the sixth messenger poured out his bowl on the great river Euphrates, and its water was dried up in order to prepare the way for the sovereigns of the east. And I saw coming out of the mouth of the beast and out of the mouth of the false prophet 3 unclean spirits as..." What's the next judgment in Egypt? Frogs. Revelation chapter 9. Revelation chapter 9 and verse 3. "Locust, biting flies, and lice." Now, could you imagine a plague of lice? What would that do to you? That would torture you to no end. Everybody started going like this. Everybody started scratching, and it would torture you to no end. On top of that, biting flies. You're not dead, but you want to what? You want to die. And then locust. "And out of the smoke came up on the earth, the authority was given to them," and out of the smoke, locusts came upon the earth, and authority was given to them as scorpions who bite of the earth and possess authority. And it was given to them that they should not kill, but torture them like lice for 5 months. And their torture was like the torture of a scorpion when it stings, or like biting flies a man. "And in those days men shall seek death and not find it, and they shall long to die, but death shall flee from them. Then boils, hail, and the death of cattle." Revelation 16:2. "And the first went out and poured his bowl upon the earth." Again, why is he pouring his bowl upon the earth? Because the two witnesses said it was coming. They're calling these things down. "And he poured his bowl upon the earth, and the evil and wicked sores, boils, came upon men, those having the mark of the beast and those worshiping his image." Verse 21, same chapter. "And great hail from heaven fell upon men, every hailstone about the weight of a talent." Basically the weight of a Volkswagen engine. "And men blasphemed Elohim for the plague of the hail, because that plague was exceedingly great. It doesn't stop there. The cattle. Revelation 8, verses 8 through 11. And the second messenger sounded, and what looked like a great mountain burning with fire thrown into the sea, and a third of the sea became blood, and a third of the living creatures in the sea died, and a third of the ships were destroyed. And a third of the messengers sounded. A great star fell from heaven, burning like a torch, and it fell on the third of the rivers and on a third of the fountains of water. And the name of the star is called Wormwood, and a third of the waters became wormwood, and many men, PDP version, and cattle died from the waters because they were made bitter. Then comes darkness. Revelation 16, verse 10. And the fifth messenger poured out his bowl on the throne of the beast, and his reign became darkened. And they gnawed their tongues from the pain. They escaped through the blood of the Lamb, through an exodus with a pillar of fire and a pillar of smoke. If Bible history is Bible prophecy, and all of these are the story of the Exodus, what else do you think is coming? And the horse and the rider were thrown into the sea. Revelation 19:13, and having been dressed in a robe dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of Yah. And the armies of heaven, dressed in fine linen, white and clean, followed him on white horses. And I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies, like Pharaoh, gathered together to fight him who sat on the horse and his army. And the beast was seized, and with him the false prophet who worked signs in his presence, which he led astray all who received the mark of the beast and who worshipped his image. And the two were thrown alive into a lake. Where'd the first army go? The horse and the rider thrown into the sea. This time it's a lake of fire. A lake of fire. And what did they do once this happened in the first Exodus? They sang the song of Moses. And I saw the sea of glass mixed with fire, and those overcoming the beast and his image and his mark and the number of his name, standing on the sea of glass, holding harps of Elohim. And they sang the song of Moses, the servant of Elohim, and the song of the Lamb, saying, great and marvelous are your works, O El Shaddai. Righteous and true are your ways, O sovereign of the set apart ones. Why do we celebrate Passover for the last 3,000 years, year after year after year after year after year? Because if we don't, we would have no idea what this book is about. Because it's going to happen. Why are we so mixed up about the book of Revelation? Because we don't celebrate Passover. We did not obey the instruction. And we're trying to figure it out without the pattern. And you can't. You can't. You just can't. This is going to happen again. Except this time, it's not Pharaoh who's going to find out who Yah is. It's every king and every priest and every prime minister and every congressman and every parliamentarian and every leader and every religion and all peoples everywhere. They will find out two things. Number one, who really are the children of Elohim. And two, who Elohim really is, as he gets his people out to bring them back to the land. Zechariah chapter 10 and verse 6. And I shall make the house of Judah, the southern kingdom, mighty, and save the house of Joseph, the northern kingdom. And I shall bring them back, because I have compassion on them, and they shall be as though I had not punished them aside. For I am Yah, their Elohim, and I answer them. Isaiah 11:11. And it shall be in that day that Yah sets his hand again the second time, to recover the remnant of his people who are left from Asher and Mitzrayim and Pathros and Cush and Elam and Shinar and the Bronx and the Queens and Manhattan and Connecticut and Staten Island, and if I forgot anybody, all over the world. Don't forget about Staten Island. And he shall raise a banner for the nations. He's going to let every nation know, these are my people. The people following the pillar of fire and the pillar of smoke, and upon whom all of this other stuff, they're finding favor in the midst of it. And he shall raise a banner for the nations and gather the outcast of Israel and assemble the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth. Not resurrection, and Exodus. Isaiah 46, verse 9. Remember the former events of old, for I am El, God, and there is no one else. Boy, that sounds familiar, right? You are Yah, and there is no other. There is no one like me. Declaring the end from the beginning. And from of old that which has not yet been done, saying, my counsel stands, and my delight I do. Last verse, Isaiah 43 and verse 15. Guys, this is all over the prophets. I'm only giving you a couple of verses. This is all over the prophets. It's Moses speaks. It's everywhere. We just haven't seen it until we started keeping the feast days and obeying his commandments and following the way we were supposed to follow. Through Mashiach, through the blood of the Lamb. I am Yah, your set apart one, creator of Israel, your sovereign. Thus says Yah, who makes a way in the sea and a path through the mighty waters. Wait a second. What's that? Exodus. Who brings forth the chariot and the horse and the army and the power? Pharaoh. They lie down together. They do not rise. They have been extinguished. They have been quenched like a wick. Do not remember the former events. It's not that you're supposed to remember the former events. He's saying it's not about the former events anymore. Yes, we need to remember the Exodus and Pharaoh and the plagues and all of that. But don't remember it as that's it. Remember it because it's telling us what's coming. Do not remember the former events, nor consider the events of old. See, I am doing what is new. Let it spring forth. Do you not know it? I, Yeshua, am even making a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. Again. Jeremiah 16:14. Therefore, see, the days are coming, declares Yah, when it will no longer be said, Yah lives, who brought up the children of Israel from the land of Egypt. Guys, there is a Passover coming. The Messiah says that night when he says, this is my body, this is my blood. He says, I'm not going to eat of this bread. I'm not going to eat of this Passover with you again until I eat it with you anew in the kingdom. Except when we eat it with him in the kingdom, that is celebrate Passover, we're not going to be celebrating Moses and Aaron taking the children out of Egypt. That's not what we're going to be celebrating. We're going to be celebrating the two witnesses who Yah sent, who took people from all over the world, out of the nations, back to the land. That's a Passover. That's a party I want to be at. You should too. But he lives who brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north and from all the lands where he had driven them. For I shall bring them back to their land that I gave to their fathers, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So why do we celebrate Passover? Because of this. Because of this. And I know we've all been told and taught at any moment it's going to happen and we're all just going to be taken away. That's not the story. The dead in Messiah will rise first. And those who are alive and remain. Well, what's the time difference? I have no idea. But I got a good idea what happens in between. And when we get there, I think we will see him coming on the clouds and be changed in a twinkling of an eye. I think that's the story. That is Passover future. Amen. Hope you enjoyed that. You now have the keys to understand the book of Revelation. Because it's the story of the second Exodus. All of it. The whole thing. Now we just got to put it together. Try to understand it. There are things that are going to come. There's so much more to say to you, just don't have time today. Of what we should be looking for. How will we know when that Passover comes? He told us. He told us when. He told us like in the days of Lot, like in the days of Noah. He told us what's going to happen. He told us when you see the abomination of desolation, it's coming. And I think that next Passover, after that happens, well, put it this way. You need to eat with your sandals on and your cloak wrapped around you and your staff in your hand. Because I think it's going to get really, really fun after that. Not for the rest of the world, but for us. It's going to be amazing. It's going to be amazing. I hope that means something to you guys. I hope that puts this in perspective. I know Christmas Carol is a terrible example, but past, present, and future, it's the truth. Yah, we love you. I ask and I pray for every ear that hears my words, whether here or online, that you would open up our hearts, our minds, that by your Spirit, if it's true, confirm it within us. Give us eyes to see as we open up the books, to read them and to know that it is the story that has been told that is being told again. Father, keep us in your will. Help us to walk after the Master in his mighty name, the one whose blood is over the doorpost of our heart on this Pesach. Amen.